Hello, everyone. Good afternoon on this lovely day, Saturday. Archana, Mr. Ramendra, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Helen O'Grady International Lights Camera Live Show.
Woo!
You know, challenging it has been for all of us. Our lives almost came to a halt. But as they say, when the going gets tough, it is the tough who get going. Artists who are no strangers to hardships. They strove to find new ideas and platforms to express themselves. Isn't it correct, Mr. Ramendra? Helen O'Grady International is all about self-expression, and artists need platforms to express themselves. So here we are with a virtual platform for all artists. We have a keen group of people eagerly anticipating to watch you perform. We are connecting live with some enthusiastic and talented participants from all over the globe, in fact, interacting with them.
Great.
And then finally watching them perform. All viewers, be inspired. So with a flurry of virtual applause, let's get started. A bit about our organization. Helen O'Grady International is a 40-year-old international organization with its presence in 40 countries worldwide. Our programs are being offered in over 80 cities in India through our franchise members who are passionate educators in an effort to keep all our theatre enthusiasts connected to the stage. We here at Helen O'Grady, we have held a mega competition, a Drama Personality 2021 as an online speech and drama event where hundreds of enthusiastic performers from all age groups across India have participated in its first round, which was called Changing the Narrative, where they spoke about India they want to see. The kind of speeches that we got to hear from students, participants of all age groups were absolutely awe-inspiring. Our international judges, panel of judges, had a Herculean task to figure out the winners. These finalists who now are waiting patiently for the finale of this event to come as soon as we get some relief from the lockdown. For them, we have lined up all exciting and entertaining shows. And this one is in the same series of the talk shows. We had a blast last evening, and thank you all for joining us. These events are truly a wonderful opportunity to see some brilliant artists in action. I want to hand over the introduction of today's artist to my colleague, Archana Dange.
For being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being here, especially being in Bengaluru and reaching out to people all across the world and talking about stories. So the story I'm going to tell you is about stories. So there was this man who did strange things in odd ways, and he was quite weird. Now, this might sound to Archana like an introduction of Ramendra Kumar, but it is not me, but a person called Kahani Kha. And what did Kahani Kha do? Naturally, he ate tails. And how did he do that? He was huge and he had a cavernous stomach and a long pointed nose, and he could smell tails which were up there, down below, or right somewhere far, far away. And he had pointed ears which could hear tales which were murmured, which were said in the softest of tones, anywhere, any place, anyhow. And he had a huge, what should I say, appetite for tales. So, what did he do? What was so special about him? He could turn invisible whenever he wanted and visible whenever he wanted. So, he went looking after tales. And when he found a nice tale, he simply sucked his breath in, and the tail entered his cavernous stomach in a jiffy and vanished there. But he never chewed or digested the tails. He kept them as they were, fresh and nice and delightfully intact. So one bright summer morning, he went, he had gone to a fair, a mela. So there he heard an announcement: come one, come all to the festival of stories. There, under the biggest banyan tree, you will find taking place the biggest festival possible. You can come and hear tales you want. So Kahani Kha went looking for the banyan tree and sat there. But in Kahani Kha's tummy, if you looked deep inside, what kind of tails you would find? Tall tails, short tails, fat tails, thin tails, straight tails, twisted tails, funny tails, scary tails, hopeful tales, sweet tales, enduring tales, all inside one big tummy. Now, with all these tales packed inside, hungry Kani Kha was still hungry. So he turned invisible and sat under the banyan tree, and the storytelling began. So performers of all ages came and performed and told their stories. And whichever story Kahani Kha liked, what did he do? He gobbled it up, one after the other. One and a two and a three and a four. Aidu, aru, edu, enmidi, umpati pati. All the tales kept going inside his stomach till he had swallowed Tombai Aru, 96 tales. I don't know what they say that in Tamil. Umpati Aru, I'm not so sure, but 96 tales he had swallowed. And he thought, now this is enough for me. And he staggered out of that place and went looking for a barren land where he could just lie down and enjoy those tales, and where there would be no temptation to eat some more. But after some time, his stomach started rumbling, and he knew that he was in trouble. He was possibly suffering from a very bad case of indigestion. So he went looking for a spot. He finally saw a well, a deserted well. He went there and he puffed and he puffed and he puffed and he puffed. And all the tails came out of his mouth and fell into the well. And then he staggered and looking for a very lonely, desolate spot, he lay down. All that eating and ingesting and vomiting out had tired him so much that he fell into a deep sleep, never ever to rise again. Many years passed. The area which was the well, around the well, became a village and then a small town. It was called Needpur. But nobody ever dared go near the well. Oh my God, don't go near the well. Funny sounds are coming, growling and howling and whispers and mumbles and murmurs and shrieks and howls. Don't go there, everybody said. So the well became deserted, vines and creepers and trees, and soon there was almost a mini jungle. Years passed by. One day, four friends, 12-year-old Meeta and her twin Ajit, 13-year-old Samir, and 9-year-old Payal, they decided to go for a picnic to the jungle on their bikes. They went there. First thing what did, they ate up whatever they had carried, sandwiches and omelets and boiled egg and chicken pakoda and whatever. And after that, Meeta, who was the bravest of them all, said, why don't we go on a little adventure? Samir said, adventure? Yeah, where? Let's go looking for the well. Ajit, her twin bro, said, are you crazy? We're going to go near the well. He said, why? What's wrong with looking for a well, an old well, an abandoned well? Don't you know? It's haunted. Even our parents don't go there. And you want to act like a very brave heroine? You want to go? No, 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 no. We cannot go anywhere near. And then Sami, the other guy, looked at Payal, the youngest kid, and asked, what do you think? We should go to the well or no? Payal said, I completely agree with Meeta Didi. We should go and have a look. After all, we've come 4 kilometers. If we only had to eat sandwiches, we could have had them in our compound, kitchen garden. They've come all that way. So Meeta said, yo, Payal, and they set out. First, it was Meeta, then it was Payal, then Ajit, and then the scaredy cat, Samir. Meeta went near the well and looked down. The water was completely placid and still, and she couldn't see even a ripple. She looked down once again, and then suddenly the water exploded into waves, and there were cackles and screams and yells and howls. And yes, did she hear somebody giggle? She turned back and ran with her little army behind her, and they collapsed in a heap. Ajit told her, see, I told you, Meeta, you were trying to act so smart. Now there must be a monster there and he'll come out and eat us up. Meeta said, there is no monster there. So then tell us what you saw. She told them. And she said, if there was a monster, he would have gobbled me up. You wouldn't have found a full-grown Meeta here. Possibly only the left lobe of my right ear. Did I get my direction right? Would be there, nothing else. And you know what I'm going to do now? Meeta said, I'm going to go back to the well. Ajit and Sami said, are you some kind of insane? Have you gone rockers off your rocker? She said, I don't believe in monsters. Dadi Ma says that there's no such thing as monsters, no such thing as ghosts. There must be an explanation to that. And I'm going to find out. I looked at her with a tinge of envy and respect and admiration and awe and said, I'm also going to come. And so Meeta and Payal and Ajit and Samir, they went to the well. This time, Meeta mumbled the names of all the gods and goddesses she knew. Shri Guru Charan Sarojara Jai Mata Di and all that. And she peeped in. The water was placid as ever. And suddenly she heard a voice of a little girl who was possibly her age. Who are you? Meeta looked down and said, I'm Meeta from Neepur. And who are you? The voice said, I'm a tail and I have got hundreds of tails with me. But I don't see any tail, nor do I see any animal. We are not a tail which comes out of the backside of an animal. We are tales as in stories. And then she told her about Kahani Kha. Meeta asked her, what's your name? She said, Cinderella. Oh, nice name. It was very clear that Meeta did not know anything about Cinderella. She had not read the story. She did not know about the tale, the fairy tale. And then Cinderella asked her, Meeta, I have a favor to ask. I have to ask you for some help. So Meeta said, yeah, tell me. I'll definitely help if I can. I and my friends want to go out from here. So can you please get your grandparents, people who tell stories? What will you do? We will jump and, hug them, and they'll hug us. And then we'll be a part of their heart and their soul, and they'll tell us to other children and to their friends and to their friends, and will live on forever and ever. We do not want to die. We do not want to be lost. We want to create humor and fun and joy and happiness, make people think, make people shed a tear, make people laugh, make people wonder about the magic and beauty of this lovely, fantastic, superb thing called the world. But if we are in this well, one day we will die forever. Meeta said, I can't get my grandparents. So Cinderella asked, why? Meeta said, ours is a very modern society. Our grandparents don't stay with us. They stay in old age homes. What is that? She said, no, when they reach a certain age, no, they don't stay with their children and their grandchildren. We keep them in special homes because we are a very modern society. Then Cinderella asked, then who tells you stories? She said, stories? Nobody tells us stories. Our parents are too busy and our grandparents are not with us. So what do you do when you are bored? When we are bored, we play computer games, we go on social media, we watch the TV programs. We do all this, but nobody tells the stories. In fact, nobody has ever told me or my friends any story. Cinderella said, but that's so sad. And moreover, if you don't have grandparents staying with you, who's going to get us out? Please help us. Then Meeta thought for some time and said, suppose we get our parents. So Cinderella said, that won't really work because your parents, you said, are really not fond of telling stories or listening to stories. So even if you persuade them and they are kind of willing to come and talk to us, they won't accept us. They won't absorb us. They won't love us like your grandparents. So we need your grandparents. Meeta said, my dadi, she's the smartest one in the family. I'm going visiting her this Sunday. I'll go and ask her. So Sunday at 11 o'clock, just when the Helen International program was going on simultaneously, she went there and she told Dadi the story. Now the Dadi was a feisty, sharp person. You're not pulling a fast one, are you? All this talk about tails and all that. I think you must have had a dream. Come on, Dadi, 4 of us in the middle of the day, do you think we'll have the same shared dream? You're right. There must be some truth in it. Okay, let me ask my friends here in the old age home. A kind of a plan is forming in my mind. Let me think it up. You come back next Sunday. Next Sunday when Meeta went, Dadi was grinning from wrinkle to wrinkle. Dadi, you got something up your sleeve? Of course. I told all these oldies that we had to go and save those tails. And I explained to them, and almost the first person to raise his hand was my bestie Goldie Singh. And soon everybody joined in, except Moody Murthy and Salki Sandy. But doesn't matter, we'll go without them. So 4 days later, all of them went in a bus organized by Dadi and stopped as close to the well as possible. And they trooped out and went towards the well. The youngsters stayed back. And as the youngsters watched, after some time, all they could hear were giggles and laughs and yells and shouts. And after around an hour, the 3G network, the gang of grandpas and grandmas was walking towards them with a large smile on their faces, as like children who had found a little secret special treasure. And what about the tales? They were now in the hearts and souls of the grandpas and grandmas, and we're traveling from heart to heart and soul to soul, and we're alive and kicking forever and ever. Thank you.
Wow, this is
Wow, that was
just
amazing.
what a pleasure. So we can
Thank
go
you.
back to gallery view so that we can view ourselves better.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
just trying to figure out. Well,
Amazing, Ramin.
Amazing.
Wow.
thank you.
Story
Thank you.
about
I'm sure
story.
glad you liked it.
Absolutely. Story about story. Such a wonderful play on the homonym tail and such a beautiful message. The visual imagery was absolutely awe-inspiring, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have this amazing talent. We have 50 plus viewers all writing fabulous comments on Facebook.
So
All
nice.
of them are enthralled by the story. This is the power of storytelling, and
No doubt.
we know that children are not getting exposure to storytelling as much as we would love to give it to them. So we are going to try and see how we can, use your talent to get uh, this amazing art form to the children. Uh,
Yeah.
just let us know about your experience, sir. I know that you are an engineer by your qualification. You have done your MBA. When did you first decide to pick up the pen and write children's stories? What inspired you?
So I started writing when I was around 7, and then went on to I wrote a silly stupid poem. Then I went on to write sillier, stupider stories. Then when I was in engineering, what do you do is I hated engineering. So when you hate something, you become either a revolutionary or a satirist. Since I didn't have the muscles to be a revolutionary, I became a satirist. Some of these satires got me into real trouble with the management. I had written a satire that had lampooned the entire spectrum, the board, party, every politician, and everything else. At that point of time, I was asked to write satire. I was asked more simple, less uh, dangerous. So that was the time my daughter was 4, and my son Aniket had just happened. Daughter Ankita was 4. So my this thing wife, she inspired me hugely. She's such an inspiration, such a motivation for me. She told me, "What a useless fellow you are. You can't run a washing machine. You can't wash dishes. You can't boil an egg. You can't even wash bums. You can't sing lyrics. You think you're a great writer, no satirist. Why do you tell stories to Nikita while I take care of Aniket? She's also working, so she had her hands full. So, when your wife beautiful throws a challenge, you have no choice. You have to accept it. And from my wife moving from the realm of satire to children's fiction was like moving from boiling an egg to poaching it. So anyway, I thought, okay, let me tell stories. But the egoist which I am, I said, why Panchatantra? Why Jataka tales? I'll cook up my own stories. And Ankita simply lapped them up. Now, I'm not sure whether it was the content. I think it was more the action and the antics, but she loved. And the story she left went to the word processor and then to the editor and the publisher, and I started writing. Now, a couple of years later, Aniket grew up. So now I had 2 people, my audience of 1+1, and their tastes and temperaments were exactly the opposite. Now, Ankita liked stories. Once upon a time, long ago, there lived a beautiful princess. She fell in love with a tall, dark, handsome prince. Just then in strode an evil giant, and he enslaved the princess. The prince, using his ingenuity, his creativity, his skill, managed to rescue the princess, enslaved the giant, and the 2 of them lived happily ever after. Minimum of violence. And my son, I had told him, Aniket, your guru is Bruce Lee. And we had put up a big poster. So every morning he would get up and say, Paranam, Bruce Lee. Now, he was extremely fond of Spider-Man, Superman, Iron Man. Fortunately, not Padman, because Padman had not happened then, but every other kind of man. And for him, a story meant dishum dishum. In the third or fourth sentence, the hero should be latching on to the villain's lips and tearing them apart. In the
Ayo.
17th or 18th sentence, the hero should be pulling out the kidney and stuffing it in the villain's mouth. And blood and gore and violence. So, to balance, once upon a time, long, long ago, to dishum, dishum, dishum was one hell of a task, but somehow I managed to do it. And the kids loved those stories, most of the stories. And that's how I became a writer for children and actually a storyteller.
Uh, wow. The visual imagery that you create, I'm sure all children would be just captivated. There is no way that they would not be.
So Ramin gives me the next question. So what's the secret? How do you captivate the young child's mind when you write?
I would say both as a writer and a storyteller, there are a lot of similarities. See, I write, the stories I tell are the stories I write. Now, there are not many writer come storytellers. It's a unique, weird kind of breed like Anika, odd, strange, and weird and all that. But it gives you a lot of power in the sense that it is my narrative. I own it, like my wife owns me. Whatever she wants, she can do to me. So I own those stories. So that gives me a lot of strength. So basically, when you're writing a story, I'll first talk about story writing and then telling. When you write a story, there should be a hook, especially for children. The plot should be interesting. A beginning, a middle, and an end. So there are many purists who would say, no, 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 this is all stale. You should try some experimentation. No, I don't believe in experimentation. For me, it has to be a straight beginning, middle, end. A plot which has got enough twists and turns. It should be racy. The action should be there. If you can add humor, fantastic, because nothing sells like humor. The language should be
Absolutely.
suitable for the audience. For instance,
Absolutely.
now, and for the character. For instance, suppose there is a 6-year-old guy who comes to your lovely institution, 6 or 5-year-old guy, and Arpanaji, you ask him, how are you feeling? And suppose he says, while promulgating esoteric cogitations and articulating superficial, sentimental, and psychological observations, beware of platitudinous ponderosity. He'll never say that. No, a 5-year-old, 4-year-old won't say it. Usually he won't say it. So the language should suit the character. And then the dialogue should be interesting, and as many dialogues as possible, because dialogues move the narrative forward. They create excitement, they create suspense, they create humor, they create tension, they create conflict.
Absolutely. So age appropriate content,
Yeah,
age appropriate language
yeah,
is the key to captivating your audience.
yeah,
Absolutely amazing, sir.
yeah.
Do you think it takes more work, more imagination to write for children than for adults? Do you think in
Definitely, because
adults you
see,
do? Yes,
definitely for children, you need a lot more creativity, a lot more imagination, because the attention span is shorter. They are far more curious, and but it's also more beautiful. Like if I tell the story about a kahani kha to an adult, he might think, but is it possible? Because Newton said that the apple drops down, and Einstein said E is equal to mc square. Kahani kha digesting all this, will you not have COVID and all? Logic and all. We don't want logic in stories, man. Logic can be in your science books. We want wonder,
yes,
we want magic, we
yes.
want fun, we want entertainment, we want humor. And that is what children love. Let me tell you a very short incident. In Delhi, I had gone to attend a conference. So there was this lady from the American Library, very, very impressive personality. And she was telling the writers how to write for children. So she said that when you write for children, you have to go down to the level of children. So I raised my hand. I was even now I'm not a nobody. I was less of a nobody there. So I said, ma'am, I have an observation. I said, whatever you said was good, humor, content, whatever, but you got the direction wrong. When you write for children, don't go down to the level of children. Rise up to the level of God, because children are closest to God and God lives up there, not down here. So get your priorities, get your direction right. So don't be
Absolutely.
patronizing. Don't be patronizing. Don't talk down to them. They are far, far smarter than you are, far more
Absolutely.
intelligent.
Archana, you're mute.
Muted. So,
Archana, you're
Ramesh,
mute.
this pandemic, what have you been up to? Any new books came out of it?
Yeah, there was, see, in this pandemic, there was so much of gloom and doom and, all that thing happening and all. So the first, I'm talking about the first wave last year. So my kids and I and Madhvi were all closeted together. So I thought that there's going to be chaos, because two teenagers in their 50s and two mature adults in their 20s, I mean, it can create an explosion. But we had a lot of fun. And I was thinking, why don't I write something from the viewpoint of my Labrador, my third child? Now, he's far more intelligent and perspicacious than all of us put together. So how he would be feeling, getting 4 times the love, 4 times the food, and with everybody all around him and all that. So I wrote and I always believe that I have a great connect, because his soulful brown eyes have a vocabulary of their own. His long and thick tail has a stream of consciousness technique which need not utter a word but yet say everything. I feel I can understand his POV, point of view, better than Madhvi's, because Madhvi's point of view sometimes appears to be a combination of a Sudoku puzzle and a Rubik's cube or something like that. So, with all that masti and masa thrown in, I wrote this book entirely from the viewpoint of Aryan, how he's feeling, how he's enjoying. I created a live-in partner for him called Priyambada or Pri, and his enemy number one, a cat called Bhudevi. Yeah. And there I also talked about something a little bit serious from the viewpoint again of Priyambada and Aryan. And that was that COVID has taught us a great lesson. It has taught us that any kind of lack of empathy with nature is going to mess up the world. Because when COVID was into its second week, we had animals moving out, frolicking in the lanes and streets and roads, but without creating any kind of disturbance or violence. But whenever man intrudes into nature, he creates destruction. Most of the diseases today are going to be zoonotic, and that because we have completely lost it. We have no empathy for nature. And I wanted to tell in the book that the children, the adults, everybody should realize that we are not the owners of nature. We are only the custodians. We take it from that generation and give it to the next generation. So this was a little bit of a value which I included in the book.
Beautiful. At the time of Environment Day and the World Environment Day, I think a lot of discussions, and especially with COVID, the impact of the pandemic, man, uh, even though I have this pessimism about man's short-lived memory, and the fact that man goes back
Totally,
to
totally.
his ways very quickly, yet maybe there will be some lessons learned. Mr. Raman, there has been such a shift away from reading books, for especially for the younger generation. So, what do you feel about that? I know it is something that we all rue. Uh, at the same time, how do we get them back to books?
So first thing I would say is that yes, there is a shift, and we as parents are to be blamed to a large extent. And according to me, the best way of getting the children into books is to start reading to them at an early age. If not at the age of Abhimanyu, at least at the age of 1 or 2 years. See what happens when the child and parents sit together and read. There is a proximity, there is a comfort zone. The child is listening to the voice, he's hearing that intonation, there is a closeness. Then reading creates, enhances the creativity and imagination of individuals. See, suppose I and my daughter, we are watching TV and we are seeing, say, suppose Chota Bheem. For both of us and for everybody else, Chota Bheem looks the same. But suppose if I tell my child, once upon a time, long, long ago, there was a lion in a forest. Now she imagines the lion in a different way. Uh, your child would remind, somebody else's child would imagine in a different way. So you are stimulating the creativity and imagination to get them.
Absolutely.
Yes. Then there is a concept in Denmark called hygge. It means taking pleasure in these little uh, small things of life. A warm cup of coffee, a walk in the garden. So why can't reading and storytelling be a hygge moment? Like when I used to tell stories to my children, on those hot summer afternoons, winter twilights, and rainy evenings, we would be together in that beautiful world of wonder and magic and mystery. And these moments, we treasure them even today. Hygge is a coziness of the mind, it is called. It's a coziness of the soul. So why don't we
Wow.
create a coziness of the soul with our children and create memories? There's a little bit of a concept I have thought of. It is called anytime memory. Like, you have this ATM card, anytime money card or anytime whatever card and all. So there is anytime memory card, ATM card. So what do you need for this ATM card? You need time and you need love, two four-letter words. And we have enough of both. But alas, we are not using them up enough. So we create memories and we keep adding on to this ATM card. This ATM card is invaluable. It is priceless. It cannot be torn. It cannot be lost. It cannot be broken. And you can have it forever and ever. So please read to your child, share stories, and create this wonderful ATM card.
Memories. Yes. Uh, such such an enriching journey this has been, Mr. Ramendra. Absolutely fabulous. I almost don't want to bring this session to an end. Archana, I'm sure you feel the same way.
It's been a pleasure,
uh,
Ramin. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
We've had viewers going completely bonkers with their comments. They have really loved this. Absolutely. We wish to see you again soon, Mr. Ramendra. Thank you for
My
being
pleasure.
here with us.
I
Uh,
enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed. Yeah.
for
Thank you
for
so
all
much
of
for having me. Yeah.
for all our viewers, please stay tuned in for our next live show. We will have a clown from Nepal presenting a show. We have a mime artist from Switzerland. So there is a plethora of fantastic artists, uh, like how Mr. Ramendra has kept us captivated today. We will have many more such events to share with you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Arpita, I have
Helen,
one small comment to make. It's a
yes,
very serious observation that when I come, you're staying in Mumbai, no?
yes.
So when I come and meet you, give me 5 minutes so that I can take your autograph.
Thank you so much. That that's a beautiful way of giving a compliment. Thank you so much. We are the ones who need your autograph. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All the best
Thank you.
Bye.
for future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was great. Lovely.
Thank you, audience, for being here with us. On behalf of Helen Obedi, we thank each and everyone